and it's time that a good part of our country began to wake up and live in the world as it is, rather than the world as we would like it to be.
This is the world you're living in. You can't just say, a world of self-interest, I don't want it, I want a world of altruism. A world in which the right things are practically always done for the wrong reasons, this is an immoral world, I don't want that. A world in which there is no such thing as the best, it's always the least worse, I don't want that kind of a world. You can go on and on. This has been the constant business, but you've got to start with the world as it is. This is the way it is.
Anyone who's familiar with radical leftist ideology will know the name Saul Alinsky. In doing some research on the author of the Bible of Community Organization and Leftist Agitation, Rules for Radicals, you'll keep coming across this phrase: accept the world as it is. Start with the world as it is, not how you would like it to be. Pretty ironic that Alinsky would use this phrase so often, as modern leftist thought is not seeing the world as it is at all, but rather how it should be, or could be, or ought to be, if only we were able to transcend reality and finally build our workers' paradise utopia and free all the proles from the shackles placed around their ankles by the oppressive bourgeoisie. The phrase leftism is a mental disorder is often used jokingly, but it's a lot more truthful than it appears upon first glance. Leftists are, on average, more prone to psychological dysfunction than those who lean right. In the treatment of mental disorders, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is perhaps the most popular theoretical orientation used in modern psychotherapy, and is essentially just Stoic philosophy, repackaged and rebranded Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. In theory, CBT holds that if we can see the world as it is, rather than how we would like it to be or how we think things should be, we can avoid the psychic distress caused by cognitive distortions, that is, thinking errors, such as placing unrealistic expectations on ourselves, others, and the world around us. Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavioral therapy, itself a repackaged form of cognitive behavioral therapy, coined the term shoulding all over yourself to describe our tendency to bombard ourselves with shoulds. The more shoulding you do, the more guilty and depressed and anxious you feel. I came across a meme the other day that describes what I'm talking about here perfectly. Equal rights and equal pay should be the benchmark for all Americans. Healthcare should be a given to all. No one should be homeless. Everyone should be able to college, etc. This is essential leftist thinking, placing such expectations on the world around them as if life should conform to their every desire and whim, no matter how implausible it actually is in reality. In the study of leftist thought, you'll come across these statements everywhere. For every issue, men should be allowed to get pregnant. Children should have the right to go on hormones and cut off their genitals. Minorities should have more rights, whatever that means, and on and on. It never ends. In order to demonstrate how disastrous the consequences of such thinking are, not only for the individual but for society in general, we need to look only at the Cloward-Piven strategy. Outlined in 1966 by American sociologist and political activist Richard Cloward and Frances Fox Piven, this strategy would seek to enroll as many people as possible in welfare and government assistance programs, all under the stated objective of helping the poor and winning the war on poverty. Often called Trojan horse movements, mass movements whose outward purpose seems to be benevolent and morally correct, but whose real objective is to create proxy warriors for the oligarchs, using poor people as unwitting pawns in order to bleed the welfare system dry, to the point of economic collapse. And of course, it's all sold to the public by taking advantage of that magical leftist thinking that no one should be poor and that everyone should be guaranteed income and housing and health care. And guess who inspired Cloward and Piven in creating this plan? Yep, that's right. None other than the king of radicals himself, Saul Alinsky. So if you ever wonder why, for the past few years we've heard more and more about things like universal basic income and the fourth industrial revolution, it's because this was the plan all along. Here we are, 54 years later, and not only are we $25 trillion in debt, with a corpse of an economy propped up artificially by usury and debt, we never even came close to winning the war on poverty. The completely draconian measures taken in response to the coronavirus that have sucked the life out of small businesses and threatened to collapse the world economy now seem to make a lot more sense, don't they? While so many people out there seem baffled by all this, confused as to why they're in such a mess, why our businesses are failing, why we can't pay our mortgages, and are desperate for the government to step in and save us, many of us know exactly how it happened. For all this time, there we were, shooting all over ourselves.